Hey there, lane makers. Welcome to Making My Own Lane. I'm Nancy, and I'm a 60 plus solo female traveler living full time in my Class C RV. I share the ups, the downs, and sometimes the weird and controversial about living and traveling full time in an RV. Over the past 2 weeks, I've shared my 30-day solar only challenge and broke down my entire solar system, all the specs, the costs, the honest truth about what solar can and cannot do. And wow, you have all been leaving some great questions. Some of you are considering solar for the first time. Some of you already have systems and want to optimize them. And some of you are just trying to figure out if this whole solar thing is worth the investment. For anyone interested, another thing I learned this week is that the new Brinkleys with solar have almost the exact same system that I do. So I guess I really do have a state of the art system. Today, I'm answering your most common questions. No fluff, no sales pitch, just honest answers based on 3 years of living with this system every single day. And here's what I love about this. You are asking the real questions, not the theoretical stuff you read on forums, but the actual practical, I need to know this before I spend thousands of dollars questions. Let's dive in. First, I don't claim to be a solar expert, and I am specifically sharing my setup for a 2005 27-foot Class C RV. My equipment came with the RV when I bought it in 2023, and I had no part in the design. I'm usually hooked up to shore power, and I love to be able to not always have to depend on shore power. This has been a fun series to make, and I've learned a lot about my own system and needs, and I've learned a lot about your systems. Many days I could live off my solar and never feel a difference from when I'm plugged in. It works when I'm driving down the road and when I'm parked. I can get coffee anytime on a travel day. It keeps my food cool or warm and runs my internet 24/7, even when I'm driving. And I can access my RV systems even when I'm not home. And it switches from solar power to shore power automatically. No need to switch plugs or reset anything. Let's start with the question I get more than any other. Nancy, should I invest in solar for my RV? And my honest answer, it depends entirely on how you travel. If you camp in RV parks with full hookups most of the time, solar's a nice backup, but probably not worth a massive investment. You've got shore power available. Now, I'll be honest, I prefer shore power when it's available. It's easier and unlimited. I don't have to think about it. But here's something that's happened to me multiple times. The park power goes out. There's a storm, equipment failure, whatever. And you know what? I honestly don't even know it happened until a friend calls asking if I have power. Why? Because my system automatically switches over to solar and battery power if the shore power fails. My mini split AC continues running, keeping my dogs cool, even if I'm not home when the power goes out. That peace of mind alone is worth something. When I'm visiting my sister for a month and camping in her driveway, I could technically trickle charge my batteries on a 20 amp plug from her house, provided I don't blow any of her fuses. And yes, that's happened. I need a 20 amp outlet with nothing but that outlet on the fuse that I can stretch my 100-foot heavy duty power cord to. If you split your time between boondocking and RV parks, solar is fantastic for extending your off grid capability between hookup stays. It gives you flexibility. You're not racing to find hookups every few days. You can stay longer in beautiful places. That flexibility is freedom. If you primarily boondock, like I often do, solar isn't optional, it's essential. But, and this is important, you need to size your system for your actual needs, not some theoretical dream. And even then, I would recommend having a generator for backup power for those extended cloudy or rainy days. I have an EcoFlow battery backup generator for true emergencies, though I haven't had to use it in months. But knowing it's there, that lets me sleep better at night. All right, let's get into the specific questions you've been asking. I've been taking notes and I've done a little research to keep track and make sure I answer all your questions correctly. Question number 1. What's the minimum solar setup for full-time RVing? That's a great question, and the answer really depends on what living means to you. For basic living, and I mean basic, lights, water pump, phone charging, maybe a TV, you could get by with 200 to 400 watts of solar and 200 to 400 amp hours of battery capacity. That will keep you going for simple needs. But here's the reality. The minute you add remote work, heavy device charging, or you want to run any larger appliances like a microwave for more than 2 minutes, you'll need to scale up significantly. Think about it this way. If you're like me and you work remotely, you've got a laptop running for hours, you've got your internet pulling power continuously, and I mean continuously 24/7 unless you unplug it after each use. You've got a refrigerator cycling on and off, you're charging cameras, phones, tablets. Maybe you want to use an Instapot or an air fryer. Maybe you need to run a fan or your AC occasionally. All of that adds up fast. So while 2 to 400 watt hours might keep your lights on, it won't support the lifestyle most full-timers actually want to live. Be honest about what you actually use, not what you think you should be able to live without. Question number 2, how much power do you need? Here's a usage chart I've created for common items we use in our RVs every day. This will get you started, but it's important to note that your RV devices can have different power needs. If you'd like a copy of this for your own reference, type power in the description and I'll get this chart over to you. Question number 3, should I get lithium or lead acid batteries? Lithium, full stop. Now I know what you're thinking. Nancy, lithium batteries are expensive. And yes, they are. Double or even triple the cost of lead acid batteries up front. But here's why they pay for themselves. First, they last 3 to 4 times longer than lead acid. So that higher upfront cost gets spread out over many more years. Second, they charge faster, way faster. This matters on cloudy days or days when you have short daylight hours in the winter. Every hour of sunlight counts, and lithium batteries can absorb that energy much more efficiently. Third, they weigh about half as much as lead acid for the same capacity. When you're driving a home on wheels, weight matters. Fourth, and this is huge, you can use 100% of lithium battery capacity. With lead acid batteries, you can only safely use about 50% of their capacity before you start damaging them. So a 400 amp hour lead acid battery really only gives you about 200 usable amp hours. A 400 amp hour lithium battery gives you the full 400. When you do the math, the longer life, better efficiency, more usable capacity, lithium batteries absolutely pay for themselves. It's not even close. If you're using solar, invest in lithium batteries and you won't regret it. Question number 4, can I install this system myself? This one depends on your skill level and the complexity of your system. Simple systems, sure, you probably can. A couple of panels, a basic charge controller, a small battery bank. If you're handy and willing to learn, there are good DIY resources out there. But once you're dealing with high voltage inverters, large battery banks, and network systems like mine with the Victron monitoring and everything integrated, professional installation is worth every penny. Here's the thing. One mistake can be expensive or dangerous. We're talking about high voltage, significant amperage, and systems that need to work reliably, and you're miles from help. I'm not trying to scare you, but I've seen what happens when things go wrong. A loose connection can cause a fire. An improperly sized wire can overheat. A misconfigured charge controller can damage expensive batteries. My system was professionally installed by the previous owner, and I'm so grateful for that. Everything is done right, done safely, and I have the peace of mind knowing it's not going to fail catastrophically. If you're considering a significant investment in solar, factor professional installation into your budget. It's worth it. Question number 5, what about portable solar panels? Portable panels can be great as supplements or for smaller rigs. I've seen people successfully use portable panels to add 200 to 400 watts to their roof-mounted systems. You can angle them towards the sun for maximum efficiency. You can set them up in the sun while parking your RV in the shade. That's smart. The downside, they require setup and takedown every single day. That gets old fast when you've been traveling for months or years. They're also not ideal in sketchy areas where theft is a concern. I've heard too many stories of people coming back to find their portable panels gone. For me, roof-mounted panels were the right choice. They're always there, always working, and always secure. But if you're just getting started or you want to test out solar before committing to a full installation, portables can be a good entry point. Just know that if solar works for you, you'll probably want more permanent panels eventually. Question number 6. Why LED lights, and do they really make a difference? Yes, my rig came with all the lights already converted to LED, and I'm so glad. Here's the difference. Traditional incandescent RV lights can draw 1 to 2 amps each. That doesn't sound like much, but if you have 6 lights on for 4 hours in the evening, that's 24 to 48 amp hours from your battery bank just for lighting. LED lights, they draw a fraction of that, maybe a tenth to 2/10 of amps each. Same 6 lights for 4 hours, you're looking at 2.4 to 4.8 amp hours. That's a tenth of the power consumption. When you're living on limited solar power, every watt matters. LED lights are one of the easiest, cheapest upgrades you can make, and they pay for themselves quickly in reduced power consumption. Plus, they don't generate heat like incandescent bulbs. They last way longer, and the light quality is actually better. If your RV still has old style bulbs, switching to LED should be your first upgrade before you even think about solar. It's that much of a game changer. Before I get into the visual demos you requested, if you're finding value in this video, please consider liking, subscribing, and even sharing this video. It really helps other people like you to find this RV life content. Now, some of you asked if I could show you some specific things about my system. So let me take you up on the roof and then walk you through my monitoring system. All right, let's talk about how these panels are actually attached to my roof. My panels are mounted on aluminum rails that are bolted through the roof. Now, before you panic about holes in your roof, this is normal and completely waterproof when done correctly. The mounting feet have rubber gaskets and are sealed with Dicor or a similar RV roof sealant. This creates a watertight seal that flexes with the roof as you drive and as temperature changes. The wiring runs down through a cable entry gland, basically a waterproof fitting that lets the wires enter the RV while keeping the weather out. All of this was done during the professional installation, and in 3 years, I've never had a leak. The one thing I do regularly is inspect the roof sealant. RV roofs expand and contract with temperature, and over time, sealant can crack or separate. I check mine every few months, and I reseal if needed. It takes maybe 30 minutes and a $10 tube of sealant. In fact, it looks like it's time to recaulk my seals. You can see there's no shade on these panels. That was intentional in how they were positioned. Even a small shadow from a vent or an antenna can significantly reduce output, so placement matters. And yes, I do clean them. Every few weeks, I'll get up here with a soft brush and some water and clean off the dust, pollen, and bird droppings. Dirty panels can lose 20 to 30% of their output, so it's worth the effort. All right, this is my favorite part of the whole system, the Victron Color Control GX. This thing is like a fitness tracker for my RV's power system. Right now, you can see I'm generating 1,051 watts from my solar panels. That's not the full 1,640 watts because it's not high noon with perfect sun angle, but it's pretty good for 1:30 in the afternoon in the winter. Down here, you can see my battery state of charge, 94%. That tells me how full my batteries are. It's like the fuel gauge in your car. This number here shows I'm currently consuming 351 watts. That's my refrigerator, my internet, and a few other devices running right now. What's really cool is you can see the power flow in real time. I'm using 351 watts on my AC loads and 22 watts on my DC loads. So the extra 642 watts is going into charging my batteries. There's still a difference of 36 watts being lost and not retained, mostly from inverter inefficiency losses. My inverter isn't 100% efficient. The numbers in gray on the left-hand bottom side of the screen show the AC current limit I have set to 27 amps. While my RV has a 30 amp charger, I set it to 27 to avoid any spikes that can hurt my overall system. And the right-hand side shows the mode. I can set it to on, off, inverter only, or charger only. I usually just leave it on AC on. And here's the best part. The system has Bluetooth and Wi-Fi capability. I can check all of this from my phone. even when I'm not in the RV. If I'm out hiking or running errands, I can glance at my phone and see if my batteries are charging properly or if I'm using more power than I thought. I can also scroll through the Victron app on my phone and look at historical data. How much power I generated yesterday, last week, last month, how much I consumed. This is invaluable for understanding patterns and planning my power usage. You can see the current numbers while I'm hooked up to shore power versus the time I spent off-grid at my sister's house. Before I understood this level of monitoring, I was just guessing. I think the batteries are fine. I hope I'm generating enough power. Maybe I should conserve energy today. Now I know. I can make informed decisions. I can see problems before they become emergencies. I can optimize my power usage based on actual data, not guesses. Even when I'm on shore, electric panel still shows my power usage and reminds me not to run my Keurig and my microwave at the same time. Is this level of monitoring necessary? No. You can have a solar system without it. But I can tell you this, knowing exactly what my system is doing has eliminated so much stress and anxiety. It's worth every penny. Now, I want to address a couple of things that came up in the comments because I think there's some confusion out there about solar systems. Some folks commented about doing solar for much cheaper in van builds, and that's absolutely true. But vans and Class C RVs are very different animals. A conversion van might have 50 to 80 square feet of space to heat and cool. My 27-foot Class C has about 200 square feet. That's 3 to 4 times the space. My mini split has to work 3 to 4 times as hard, which means it draws 3 to 4 times the power. A small van mini split might draw 300 to 400 watts. Mine draws 600 to 900 watts because it's cooling a much larger space. It's like comparing the gas mileage of a smart car to a pickup truck. They're both vehicles, but they have very different requirements. So yes, you can absolutely do solar cheaper in a van, but you're also working with much smaller power requirements. Different situations, different needs. I also saw a question about using capacitors instead of batteries for energy storage. Here's the simple explanation. I've looked into this, and capacitors and batteries do different things. Capacitors store energy in an electric field and release it almost instantly. We're talking milliseconds. They're great for things like camera flashes or smoothing out power delivery in electronics. Batteries store energy chemically and release it over hours or days. They hold vastly more energy for their size and weight. To replace my 10,554 watt battery with capacitors, I'd need hundreds of the largest supercapacitors available. And capacitors are extremely expensive compared to batteries, and they fill my entire RV. Batteries are still the best technology we have for sustained power storage over hours and days. Capacitors are amazing for their specific uses, but they can't do what batteries do for RV power systems. Before we wrap up, I want to talk about something controversial. Solar doesn't have to be all or nothing. The RV community sometimes gets tribal about this. You're either a solar purist living completely off grid, or you're not really committed. You're somehow cheating if you ever use shore power or a generator. And I think that's ridiculous. I have solar as my primary source of power, but I also have my 30-amp chassis charger that recharges my batteries while I'm driving to and from my next destination. That's 200 miles of free charging every time I move. I have access to shore power when it makes sense. When I'm at my sister's house for a friend's driveway or in an RV park, I absolutely plug in. An EcoFlow battery backup generator for true emergencies. This isn't failure. This is a smart system design. Solar is a tool. Generators are a tool. Shore power is a tool. Use the right tool for the situation you're in. For me, solar is about freedom and flexibility. It's about being able to stay in beautiful places without having to rush to find hookups. It's about peace of mind knowing my dogs are safe even if the power goes out. It's about reducing my reliance on generators and campgrounds. But it's not about proving something or being ideologically pure. It's about living the life I want to live sustainably and comfortably. So, is solar power worth it? For me, absolutely. But my answer might not be your answer. If you're going to be plugged in most of the time, probably not. Save your money. If you want flexibility, freedom, and peace of mind, then yes, it's worth every penny. If you're going to be boondocking regularly, then it's not optional, it's essential. The key is being honest about your actual needs. Don't overbuild and spend money you don't need to spend, but don't underbuild and end up frustrated because your system can't support your lifestyle. Write down every device you use. Calculate your actual daily consumption. Add 20% for a safety margin. Size your battery bank for at least 2 to 3 days of that consumption, and size your solar to replenish what you use based on realistic production for where you travel. And if you have 3 days of rain with no sunny days in sight, yeah, I'm stressing out a little bit. I'll be honest about that. Solar isn't perfect. It's not unlimited power. But for me, it's been the right choice. And keep in mind as you're planning out your system that once you have a system set up, you will find more ways to use it and more things you want to power up. It's inevitable. And you may want to consider that when you plan out your safety margin as well. Don't forget to comment power to get my common RV electrical items and their watt and amp usage chart. That wraps up this 3-part solar series. If you missed parts 1 or 2, I'll link them in the cards and description below. Part 1 was my 30-day solar only challenge, the good, the bad, and that stressful day 29. Part 2 broke down my entire system with all the specs, costs, and myths about solar power. And today, part 3, we covered your questions. I've created a playlist called Living on Solar Power, my complete RV experience, with all 3 parts, plus any future solar content I create. You can find that linked in the description below. If you're researching solar for your RV, that playlist has everything you need to make an informed decision. And if I didn't answer your specific question today, drop it in the comments below. I read every single one, and I'll either reply there or maybe it'll become a future video. Thank you so much for following along on this solar journey with me. Your comments, your questions, your engagement, it means everything. This channel is called Making My Own Lane, but I'm not traveling alone. You're all a part of this journey with me. Until next week, safe travels and keep making your own lane.